So I'm snowed in, but I am snowed in with a brand new Death Call to Krieg box set. So what I'm going to try and do is spend one day building and painting it all. Let's see how we go. When you're a kid, snow days are great, but when you're older, all it is annoying to get the car out and nobody knows how to drive on the road. But it's not so bad when you're locked in with the new Death Call to Krieg box set that was sent to me by Games Workshop for a review, and I'm going to review how long it takes to paint all of these models. And actually, there's not that many models in the box. There's Lord Marshal Dreer, there's 10 Death Riders, which make up the most of it. I say there's not that many models, but the Death Riders, they're basically 2. There's 5 engineers with a mine and then a large artillery piece. This is actually huge. It's on like a 130mm base, I think it is. It's the same as an Onaga Dream Crawler. As per usual, the models are really nice. There's not that many mold lines because they are pretty new. But they're also kind of annoying for sub-assemblies, especially the carrots. I've had to leave the legs on and I've left the body separate. The combat engineers are really cool, but there's not much in the way of options of like posing. It's just 5 dudes and you can swap the weapons out, whether you want to give them truncheons and pistols or you want to give them shotguns like I have. And then I've given like one guy a flamer and then the unit leader, he's got a plasma pistol and a power sword. As I said, the artillery piece is massive, and I think you can actually build all 3 cannons and then swap them out without even magnetizing, but I've gone for the siege cannon because it's strength 12. And then there's the 10 Death Riders. Now this can be 1 unit of 10 or 2 units of 5, and you can kind of give them different arms, but equipment wise in the game, they are equipped with power lancers, swords and guns, so you can kind of learn them out how you like.
What are you doing? Me? I don't like the smell of that, do you? You're off.
So I'm about 2.5 hours in. All the Death Riders are now built. I just need to go around and just clean them up a little bit and then get their bases done and then leave them to dry, and then I'm going to prime them tomorrow, probably. 12 hours collectively. Maybe not consecutively. For basing, I'm going for a simple basing paste all over the base, adding some extra little bits from Goonmaster Games that are 3D printed, and then doing a sprinkling of sand and rocks just to give it that textured, sandy GW look. For the Death Riders, I've left the horses on their own on the bases, and then I've stuck all the riders together but not onto the horse and put them on separate bases so they're easier to paint. And then it may be a snow day. If you can still prime when it's bad weather. You just need to make sure you do loads of prep. I've actually just put a short video out about how to do this, but essentially warm up the can under a tap, warm the model with the hairdryer before priming, spray the model outside, bring it back in and spray it with the hairdryer again, and you'll get perfect results every time. Especially if you're using the Colourforge sprays. I'm using Hyrax Brown initially, and Colourforge and the Outpost are actually powering this video. Make sure you use the link in the description to get your discount Warhammer and some of the best primers that are available around the world now. And you support me every time you use a link. So I sprayed everything in Hyrax Brown, but then for the Death Riders and the horses, I used Ossified Earth as like a zenithal prime. I use Ossified Earth on the Osses, because I'm from Yorkshire, they're Osses, right? So Ossified Osprey on Osses. Next up, I did a little bit of airbrushing, and I did some ivory highlights just on the skin, just to bring, to add that 3-tier highlighting gradient, which is really nice. And then because these are demon horses, they're not horses, they're like half mutated weird things. I gave them all like weird demonic feet, starting out with a watered down Vulpus or Volupus pink contrast paint, and then slowly mixing in some Leviathan purple for the next coat, and then finally using a mix of, I think it was a Zerman blue and then Black Templar, just to make for the ends of the feet as like a gradient, just to add some color interest, because Guard and Kriegsmen are really drab, so I wanted like a little pop of color here and there, which I'm going to be doing on the feet and also the lenses. Next up, it's just all about blocking in the colors. No more airbrush, it's all paintbrush. We're going to paint the leather in Cuirass leather and the brown in, like, I think it's called trench brown, maybe. We're just blocking in colors. It's paint by numbers, you could say. So 2 hours into painting, I've got the Death Riders like mostly base coated for those colours. I might need to go around and do the brown again. There's quite a lot to do. It's quite a drag, to be honest. This is a bit of a slog. I think the legs have come out really nicely, but the leather work is like a slog, and that's like most of the model, to be honest. I just need to do the metal work, the eyes, and then we could probably douse them. For the armor of the horses, I'm going to block it in with like a dark deep blue by using 2 thin coats, Abyss Blue and Doom Death Black mixed together. And then I'm going to use a bit of sponge in the end of a paintbrush cap. These are what come with free with paintbrushes to protect them in transit. But by jamming the sponge into the end of it, you can dab on and add texture to the armor really easily with a sponge. And before you start, I'm using tweezers at this point. I use the end of a paint cap later. I recorded it forgetting I did that, but it makes more sense to explain the paint cap now rather than later. Because I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again in a bit, all right? Dab on and add texture to the armor really easily with a sponge. And I do this for a lot of the army, actually, just for speed. I use Black Templar contrast paint to base anything that's going to be black, but also anything that's going to be metallic. Anything that wants to be black is now pretty much shaded black, ready to go, and it's highlighted because it's a contrast paint. And then anything that's metallic, it's a really thin color that'll like cover anything, that'll make it look black, and then it's handy for painting metallics over the top, such as like dry brushing silvers for a quick base coat, and then you can do it with another silver and get like a really quick highlight as well. It's really handy just doing it this way. It's a lot faster than trying to base it all metallic. I do find using contrast paint as like a base color to start you off a lot of the time is really convenient, just because it's like thin, it flows nicely, it gets into all the recesses, and you don't really need to like wash it. You can just go into like highlights and you're pretty much done. Yeah, they're nearly done, Mikey. Another 2 hours. What's that? I think I'm up to 6 hours now, and all I've done is base coat most of the horses. I've still got the big cannon to do. I've still got the infantry and it's all the riders that's going to be a pain in the bum. So right, I'm gonna smash metallics and then we'll see where we're at. So the good and bad thing about the Death Riders is that they're animals, so there's lots of like different colors to work with, which you can really experiment and really try loads of things out. But when you're trying to paint fast, there's loads of different colors you need on the palette, which is super annoying. So I've gone in with a Nighthaunt, Gloom and Black mix for the hair at this point, just again because that just needs painting a color of something, just so it doesn't blend together with the skin. And then I'm using Targor Rage Shade, which I've actually never used before. I've had it since release. It's a really nice colour, and I used this to paint on his bum. It was great. It was really good bum colour. Then again, we've gone in with like a contrast green, just to paint the pipe, which I presume is powering the demon horse. I need to read up on Death Calls and Krieg a little bit, but why are they covered in cables? I know they're a bit demonic and mutated, but Jesus Christ. I'm going to use the same red for the lenses and also all the cloaks and all the other detaily bits. So on Lord Dreer, he's obviously got his saddle, which is very regal. We're going to do that bright red, and then it's going to look really grotty later. So adding some Hellstorm red into the mix, I can add some really quick dirty highlights. It's just going to make that red pop because we've got lots of like very neutral, desaturated colours like the blues and the browns and stuff. There's not a lot of colour pop, so adding a little bit of red here with some extremely high red highlights is going to look pretty nice. But after that, we can go back and base all the metallics. We can paint all the gold with Dragon's Gold, and we can paint all the silver using a silver. I think this is a Vallejo. So I said I'm just going in and highlighting the metallics now, just to give them some focal points for the most highest points. Things that look interesting, like around the lenses or on the front parts or on the weapons and stuff like that. We're just trying to break them up from the other metallics that are already on the model. Right, that's another half an hour, so I'm officially over halfway through the 12-hour challenge in inverted commas, and the horses are done. The horses models, not the bases or the riders. So, but I'm going to do all of the riders and the infantry together, then glue all the models together, then do all the grime. So give me a break. Yeah, maybe 12 hours is about it. And then it's time to tackle the rest of the army, because that is 11 horses. There's still 11 riders and all the other stuff. There's still quite a bit to do. And they're not the horses aren't really done, Mikey. Why did you say you want to do this in 12 hours? I don't know, you're so stupid. So for the infantry and all the other... The infantry and stuff are just basically blue, right? Because I'm painting them like the box art. I started out with the airbrush with that Abyss Blue/Black mix that I used on the horse's armor, and I airbrushed it. You can do this with the paintbrush. You don't have to use the airbrush. You don't even have to use the airbrush for the previous step, but this is just for speed more than anything. And then I added a little bit of Gigawatt Blue to highlight, which I actually really hated because Gigawatt Blue is way too saturated for the drab look we're trying to go for. So then which I started sponging that same color, and that's when I realized it was really bad, and then I quickly wiped it off and started again using Fenrisian Grey mixed with the Abyss Blue as the sponging for the highlight, because it's so desaturated, but it's more like a grey blue rather than a blue which I was using. And I've left this bit in because like sometimes this shit happens, like when you're just like essentially freestyling like I am. Because I'm trying to paint fast, I'm just kind of like guessing on the fly. I've not really planned out the scheme. I'm looking at the box. I know what colours I own, and I know what colours I can mix together. Sometimes it's okay to start something, realise you've made a mistake, rub it off and try something else. It's okay to cock up, all right? Don't get in your head about it. Don't be like, oh my God, that model's ruined, I've got to start again. Put some water on it, try and get most of it off, just paint over it, all right? So I went in with a Fenrisian grey and then sponged everything that was supposed to be blue, cloaks, armour, whatever. If it's going to be blue, it's going to be that tone of Krieg blue that's not metallic. Sponged. Sponge with the pen cap, paintbrush cap even. And then I'm not going to repeat myself too much because a lot of this is following the same steps. I used the Gizmo Fur, not Trench Brown, Gizmo Fur. I think it's this one with ivory as well to lighten up a little bit compared to the horses. On the mask, I use Kuros leather on all the leather parts. Painted all the metallics and everything that's going to be black with Black Templar. I actually went around and painted like the inside of the cloak and the cuffs. Essentially Fenrisian grey and ivory, just to give it a little bit of warmth and make it look a little bit different than the cloak colour. And I followed through with the same steps. I painted the silvers using a dry brush technique, and then I painted the gold using Dragon's Gold again. It's all the same stuff I've just done to the horses, but this time it's on all the infantry. And then once I dotted all the I's with red, obviously I stuck all the models back together, and we had a semblance of an army at this point.
So, I think I've lost count. That was another 4 hours. And I think I was halfway through. I think it says on the screen, but they're looking pretty good. I've put all the models together so it looks way more manageable. And you also realize that there's not that many models in this box. There is when the riders and the horses are separate, but it's a small box. There's nothing there, but the Death Riders are obviously really cool, but there's no models there. But yeah, I'm gonna let the glue set. And then all I need to do is paint the bases, the details on the bases. Then we're going to grime. Then it's highlights and done. So I think another hour tops. Feeling pretty good at this point. All of the models are mostly base coated. There's a couple of highlights here and there, but nothing too crazy. But we're going to drench these in streaking grime because that is the only way I seem to know how to speed paint and make it look kind of good. But we need to paint all the base details, so it's just a case of base coating all of the barbed wire and wood to different colours using like silvers and just like brown contrast. It literally doesn't matter what colour you paint this. Just put some on it, all right? Just slap it with something. So here you can see I'm painting like the skulls, just like a bone colour. Painting the sandbags some sort of tan, etc. And then giving all the bases a base coat of a brown. I think this is just an old Vallejo brown that I've got. It doesn't matter at this point because we're going to be painting the bases later. It's just to make them all uniform for when we put the streaking grime, it all looks the same at the end because we want them to be a uniform colour. But all I'm doing is when I'm painting the brown, I'm just slopping it on really thin. It's watered down loads, but it's just to give it overall coverage and just trying to not to hit those details that we just painted. And then it's time for the grime, baby. The secret ingredient is grime. I love this stuff, and I know you've probably seen this stuff before. It's what a lot of people use to hide a lot of mistakes, which I'm doing right now. But if you've never seen this before, let me quickly explain it to you. This is what's known as an enamel paint, okay? Essentially what that means is once it's dried, you can reactivate it. So what you essentially do with it is it's what's known as reductive painting technique. So instead of going in and painting all the little shadows with a wash and painting all my recesses, no, just slap it all over the model, okay? Slap it everywhere, get it in every nook and cranny, smother it, drown it in this stuff, okay? Pooling, yes please, all right? The thing is with it is because it's reductive, it means we go back in and we clean it off using something like a makeup sponge. Makeup sponges are really cheap. I buy like random offcuts from like, if you're in the UK, like B&M, Home Bargains, etc. But I don't know what you have in the US or wherever. So probably Dollar Tree. We have a Powerland. It's probably better. But this stuff smells, okay? Because it's not acrylic, essentially means it's like water-based with some plastic. Enamel basically means it's oil-based, okay? So don't put this stuff in your mouth. It's really gross and not good for you in that order. But the thing is with it is you can paint it all over the model, and this is essentially a wash technique. So we paint it all on, we get into the recess, we wipe it off with the sponge, which obviously we can't get into the recesses with the sponge. So once it's dried and we wipe it off, it leaves streak marks, hence the name streaking grime, but it also stays in the recesses. It gives everything a filter because it just dries on everything. It doesn't always fully come off.
So it kind of like leaves this like brown filter to kind of like blend everything together in a good way. It gives it kind of like looking at something with like a very light sepia tone, which is pretty nice to be honest when we're painting. But as you can see, what it does is it brings all the colours together, and all of our sponging, all of our airbrushing all gets blended together because of that filter that we've got. So it tricks the eye to make it look way better than it actually does. And obviously it brings out all of the details as well, especially on like the Death Riders. Those horses were really bright and all the colours were quite stark, and now they've all got this tone over them, so they all like blend together and look really cool. The sponging looks really cool. It looks like texture, not like you've hit it with a dish sponge for half an hour like I did, and it just like pulls everything together. It's a really cool way to paint. It's really fun, it's really quick, and again, when I've got to speed paint, my first thought is like, what I'll do is I'll just base coat everything, do the odd highlight, and then streak in grime, because it looks cool and it works every time. And if you don't like it, you can just use odorless thinners or whatever oil thinners you got and just wash it off. It doesn't affect the paint underneath. Not really anyway. You should probably varnish before, and when you're wiping it with a wake up sponge, you can wipe off the paint underneath, but it's very rare that it happens. It happened a couple of times here and there where I've not done like a very thick base coat basically. So I just went back in and repainted those bits. It was fine. If you ever use this stuff, my best advice is to paint it all over. I'd thin it down a little bit thinner, you know, like kind of like what you would with water in a pot, but not water with thinners. Splash it all over, get it everywhere, get it all over your hands, get it all over your fingers like I have. And then I'd spray it with a hairdryer for a couple of minutes and wait probably 20 minutes, half an hour. Wipe it down with a makeup sponge to get most of it off, leave it to dry again, and then come back maybe a couple of hours later and then get the rest off. Because I've found if you do it too soon, it doesn't come off properly, and if you leave it too late, it's harder to get off. So I'm kind of like the quickly dry it, get the top layer off, get most of it off, and then go back in and then refine it. And then once it is dry, you can just go back in and paint it. You can varnish it first if you want to, but you can just go over and paint it once it's fully dry, like I'm doing here. So I'm going in and just highlighting everything now, because obviously we've covered everything in brown, so now it's really dull, really drab, but it's also really muted, and we kind of want some things to stand out, because if it's fully muted, it all just blends together. So I'm going in and painting the lenses, for example, and all like all the weapons and stuff. So I'm going to highlight some of the metallics, but not everything. Essentially the shoulders, the heads, the weapons, and that's pretty much it. I'm also going to go in and highlight the armor panels and stuff like that, because obviously that's like quite the iconic bit. We want that bit to stand out. So I'm just going to highlight the edges, just using like a Fenrisian grey abyss blue mix, just to make it pop a little bit. Again, we've got this nice filter. We don't want to go in crazy, but just a couple of edge highlights is going to like go a long way, I think. And then on the character especially, we're going to make him look a bit more regal because he's so muted. We're going to go back and repaint some gold. We're going to highlight some reds, etc. Just using all the colours we've already used and then adding a few extra. So there's like, again, it's like the Hellstorm red, just going in with the dragon's gold, mixing in a little bit of silver to make it a bit brighter. And then just to add to that grotty, grimy technique, we're going to use some dirty down products such as dirty down rust and dirty down verdigris. Starting with the rust, the best thing you can do with this stuff if you've never used it before, again, it's kind of like one of the fads, I would call it. It's very popular at the minute, but it is good stuff. Essentially, warm up the bottle with a hairdryer and then warm up the model as well, okay? Because it basically wants to be super warm while you're working with it, and then leaving it to dry, splashing it all over, but leaving it to dry afterwards. And then it gives you that really nice rust effect. It looks really cool. And then doing the same with the verdigris, just warming up both places. I'm playing this on some of the gold and then like the power lancers. I think it'll look cool on them. Once the rusters and verdigris are dried, you can use water on your paintbrush to wipe off any excess that you don't like. If you want to make it look less rusty, etc., you can just, it's water soluble, so you can just wash it off. And then we're on to final rush, stage 16. Obviously everything is so drab, we've got a little bit of pop of colour, but we want a real pop, and we're going to go for some OSL, okay? You don't need to do this bit, but I love a bit of OSL with grit streak and grime, okay? It was the same on my Iron Hands, it was the same on my Stormcast, now it's on my Krieg. So obviously everything is base coated red, and then we're just going to go in and spray a little bit of Hellstorm red around the eye to create the OSL effect. And then I'm going to lightly spray some red and orange mixed together, just to boost that contrast, to boost the highlight essentially in the eyes. And then I'm not very good at red OSL. I don't do it very much compared to blue OSL, so I did the rest of my brush and I just used some like really bright red orange just to like dot in the eye, and then added a little bit of yellow and did some more dots in the eye just to make that like really pinpoint effect. And then I washed it using Targal Rage Shade again because it's really, really good. Really good bum colour, also really good eye colour. You know, it's very pink, and it makes the eyes look it's like pink red. It makes the eyes go like a pinky red colour. Then it's just a case of basing them. I would normally do these quite dull, but I'm going to be matching them to the rest of the guard army that I have. So I'm going to dry brush Mournfang Brown, followed by Zemiti Desert, followed by Ushabti Bone, and then do it a good brown base rim. What, black? Nah, never heard of her. Then it's just a case of sticking on some tufts, sticking all your models back together if you haven't put them already, such as the crew on this one. And then we have ourselves a Krieg Army. So there we have it, a brand new Krieg Army painted in, well, I'd love to say 12 hours, but I was around 12 hours when it came to the streaking Grime step, and then I spent another 4 hours highlighting everything. So can you paint a Krieg Army in 12 hours? No, because one, it took 16, and two, after calculating the new points that Games Workshop sent me, this box set comes to 405 points, so I can't even play a 500-point game yet with these models. This box is so tiny. This isn't an army. It's a box of Death Riders with some other stuff in it. However, I'm really chuffed with how nice the models have come out. I've really enjoyed painting them. I don't play guard too much. I do have a small guard army, but I think that these have been a really fun addition whilst I've been kind of snowed in, etc. And it's really cool to get my teeth into another project and just kind of get all these done very quickly, and during pre-order week, which doesn't happen very often because I'm just it feels like I'm mad busy all the time. And I just want to say I really appreciate everyone's patience. I know my last actual video was the announcement that I've been moving. I'm currently because of the snow, I actually couldn't get out, which is what inspired me to crack on with this project because it arrived just before. And I just want to appreciate everyone's patience because I've not been dropping videos consistently for the past couple of months. It's just been been really wild. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, when the studio's done, I'm gonna do a week-long game battle report every single day in the new studio to celebrate the launch, and hopefully you'll see the Siege Cannon and some Death Riders featured in a game there. So thanks so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Don't forget my new home is at the Outpost, because this video is powered by the Outpost of the Colour Forge. You use the links in the description to grab yourself some discount Warhammer, some hobby supplies, some of the best spray paints in the world, using my links, and they really support the channel. There's no other sponsor, but there is all these beautiful members who help keep this channel alive, and they've really supported me whilst I've been off my feet trying to reorganize my entire business. It's been crazy. So thank you to them for keeping this channel alive. Thank you to you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you make sure you leave a comment and let me know what you think. Did you get the reference? And maybe you'll subscribe, because there's hopefully going to be more of this very soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.